But Poland's economy is forecast to improve quite significantly in the coming years, in particular in comparison with other countries in Europe or the European area. So I think the IMF is forecasting that Poland will be have a higher GDP per capita than Spain and the same level as Italy in a few years, and that there's even been claims that Poland will have a higher GDP per capita than the UK. That might be more of a reflection of the UK not doing particularly well as well. But in about a decade or so, those claims are a little bit contested, but also the fact that they're being talked about, it suggests that the future is bright. Would you say?
Right. Well, Poland again, Poland and the other Eastern European economies have two major features that the Western economies do not have. So, first and foremost, they are not tied to the Eurozone, which means that they're not tied to the pressures of inflation and consumptions. And the balancing act on inflation that the ECB is forced to do in a group of countries that are very different. So take France and Italy and Germany, which are the major economies in the EU. And they are part of the Eurozone, but they're very different, right? So balancing them is very hard. And considering the problems that these economies are facing, there is a slow growth. Now, with the UK, again, there is also the idea of an industrialized economy, of a developed economy that is slowing down and is and its slowdown is very much dependent on what's going on in the world's economy and at the global level. We're in a sort of a recession globally and restructuring process. So, compared to these economies that are developed, are well established, right? We have these countries in Eastern Europe which are not yet developed, which have room for investment in infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I don't necessarily mean roads or railways or digital infrastructure, but I also refer to health premises, schools, whatever involves the servicing part of the infrastructure, which is also a larger, to a larger extent, a human capital intensive kind of development and kind of an investment, which the developed countries do not have right now because they've done that in the 70s, they've done that in the 60s. So there is a push that is related to the nature of these economies. They are still emergent in many ways. And at the same time, there is also the idea that once we will have a negotiated agreement or a sort of a negotiated peace in Ukraine, we will also start the reconstruction process of Ukraine, which will make these countries on the border of the EU and on the border of NATO the recipients of important investments. Because obviously, companies in the US, for instance, or companies in Germany that will want to be involved in the reconstruction of Ukraine will prefer to go to countries like Poland or Romania simply because they're sheltered by NATO and because their standards are EU standards and because they already have an infrastructure in place. They don't need to build the whole business infrastructure. There is banking, there is servicing for anything that they need to put into Ukraine proper or work to develop the Ukrainian infrastructure. So with that in mind, the Polish economy has a bright future ahead because there are incentives for further investment that is internal, but also coming from abroad.